Hello, and welcome to Decodiva. If you love vintage home decor and want to transform your home into a place that feels both timeless and personal, you've come to the right spot. In today's video, we're diving into the world of Bunny Williams and her approach to curating vintage decor that brings personality, style, and warmth into any space. Her tips will help you create a home that feels collected and curated over time, rather than just put together. Before we jump into the heart of the video, I'd love for you to take a moment to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications. This way, you won't miss any of our future vintage-inspired content. Also, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below to share your thoughts or ask any questions you might have. Now, let's get started with the first tip from Bunny Williams that will help you design a beautiful and personalized home. One of Bunny Williams' core principles is the acceptance of imperfection. She believes that vintage pieces with a bit of wear and tear hold unique charm and character. Whether it's an antique chair with a faded finish or a vintage rug with a history of use, these elements add soul to a room. Embracing these imperfections allows you to create a space that feels lived in and rich with stories. By incorporating imperfect vintage pieces into your home, you're not just decorating, you're collecting memories. Each mark, scuff, or patina tells a tale that adds depth and authenticity to the decor. Bunny often reminds us that these imperfections make the pieces more interesting and inviting, giving your home a personality all its own. When designing with vintage items, don't shy away from those small flaws. Instead, celebrate them. It's about creating a balanced environment where old and new items coexist beautifully, making your home feel curated over time. Textiles are another important element in Bunny Williams' vintage design philosophy. She suggests layering vintage fabrics such as quilts, throws, and linen curtains to create a warm, cozy atmosphere. These textiles add texture, color, and depth, turning a space into a visual feast. Think of vintage tapestries or handwoven throws draped over a modern sofa. They work together to tell a story while offering comfort. When choosing textiles, Bunny encourages a mix of patterns and colors that reflect your personal style. Vintage fabrics are often rich in history, with intricate designs and faded colors that complement a variety of decor styles. Whether you love the rustic charm of old linens or the luxury of silk brocades, vintage textiles bring a unique touch to any room. Layering textiles also adds an element of comfort and warmth to your home. These soft, tactile elements create a welcoming environment that feels both lived in and luxurious. It's the perfect way to bring character into any room while ensuring comfort for your family and guests. Bunny Williams always emphasizes the value of incorporating personal heirlooms into your decor. Items passed down through generations carry emotional significance and help create a home that feels uniquely yours. A vintage lamp from your grandmother or a set of antique books passed down from a relative can make a room feel more intimate and connected to your family history. Incorporating heirlooms doesn't just mean placing them in a room for decoration, it means weaving them into the story of your home. These objects often have sentimental value, and by displaying them with care, you are honoring the past while adding warmth to your space. Bunny often says that a home without personal treasures feels like a space without a soul. Whether it's a piece of furniture or a small trinket, these heirlooms can bring character, elegance, and an extra layer of personalization to your decor. They are irreplaceable, timeless, and truly irreplaceable, giving your space a depth that is impossible to achieve with mass-produced items. To avoid a space feeling like a museum, Bunny Williams recommends mixing vintage pieces with more modern elements. This combination keeps a room fresh and dynamic while still embracing the charm of older items. A vintage armchair paired with a sleek, contemporary coffee table can strike the perfect balance between the old and the new. Modern pieces act as a grounding element when mixed with vintage, making the room feel balanced and not overly nostalgic. By blending the two styles, you create a space that feels cohesive but still exciting and varied. The trick is to find a balance where both styles complement one another rather than competing for attention. Bunny's key to success in mixing vintage with modern is not to be afraid to break the rules. Don't feel like everything has to match. Contrast and variety can lead to a much more engaging and personalized environment. Bunny Williams believes that a well-curated home should evoke a sense of history. Vintage items, such as antique furniture or art from past decades, bring a certain richness to the home. These pieces carry memories and craftsmanship from their time, and by incorporating them into your decor, you introduce an element of timelessness into the space. To create this sense of history, think about curating a collection of objects that reflect different periods and cultures. For instance, you could mix French antiques with English Georgian pieces, creating an eclectic mix that tells a unique story. Bunny often encourages her clients to think of their homes as personal museums that reflect their lives and the journeys they've taken. The goal is to avoid a space that feels too new or generic. Vintage decor adds layers of depth, creating an atmosphere that feels lived in and deeply personal. When each piece has a story, your home tells a much richer. One of the most important elements in Bunny Williams' design philosophy is investing in statement vintage pieces. These are the items that draw the eye and serve as focal points in a room. It could be a large vintage mirror, a beautiful piece of artwork, or a well-crafted antique cabinet. These statement pieces anchor the space and give it personality. Statement pieces can make your home feel unique and curated. Rather than focusing on filling every corner with items, Bunny suggests choosing a few standout pieces that evoke emotion and conversation. This helps to create a room that feels thoughtfully designed and not overstuffed with things. When you invest in these pieces, you're not just adding a beautiful object to your home, you're adding a conversation starter and a work of art that enhances the room's entire aesthetic. Bunny Williams is a big advocate for buying quality over quantity. Your home will thank you for it in the long run. Another tip from Bunny Williams is the importance of layering lighting in your vintage-inspired home. Lighting plays a crucial role in creating the right mood and highlighting vintage pieces in your space. By combining different types of lighting, such as table lamps, sconces, and overhead fixtures, you can create a balanced atmosphere. Layering your lighting helps highlight vintage decor while providing functional light for reading, cooking, or entertaining. Bunny suggests using warm, soft lighting to accentuate the textures and colors of vintage textiles and furniture. This brings a glow that enhances the nostalgic charm of vintage pieces. Whether you're aiming for a soft, romantic ambience or bright, functional light, Bunny encourages you to experiment with lighting to see how it changes the vibe of the room. It's all about creating a space that feels inviting, cozy, and well lit to showcase your curated treasures. Bunny Williams loves to play with scale and proportions in her vintage designs. By mixing large and small pieces, you create a room that feels more dynamic. For instance, a grand antique table might be paired with smaller, delicate vintage chairs, or a large mirror might reflect smaller elements around the room. This contrast creates visual interest and keeps the space from feeling too uniform. Playing with scale also helps to keep the vintage decor from overwhelming the space. Large pieces like antique armoires or chandeliers can be counterbalanced by smaller accessories like vintage vases or framed prints. This creates a more fluid, harmonious feel that allows each piece to shine on its own. Bunny suggests thinking about the room as a whole, considering how each piece fits in relation to the others. Scale and proportion allow you to make the most of your vintage collection while ensuring that the room feels balanced and not cluttered. Timeless colors are key to achieving a vintage-inspired look that doesn't feel dated. Bunny Williams often recommends neutral tones like soft whites, creams, and taupes, which act as a perfect backdrop for vintage pieces. These colors allow the unique qualities of each item to stand out, while maintaining a calm, cohesive palette. While neutrals provide a versatile base, Bunny also encourages the addition of rich, vintage-inspired colors like deep blues, burgundies, and muted greens. These colors, often found in older textiles or vintage paint finishes, add depth and warmth to the space. The trick is to avoid overly bright, trendy colors that can quickly go out of style. When you use timeless colors, you create a space that feels elegant and enduring. This approach allows your vintage pieces to shine, without the fear of clashing or aging poorly. It's about creating an atmosphere that feels both fresh and classic. Bunny Williams believes that mixing different periods and styles within your home can bring unexpected beauty and create a more eclectic, personalized atmosphere. Rather than sticking to one specific era, she encourages mixing vintage pieces from different times to create a layered, dynamic look. For example, pairing a mid-century modern chair with a Victorian-era rug might seem unconventional, but Bunny has a way of making it work. It's all about finding common ground. Perhaps the colors or textures of the items complement one another, creating a space that feels curated over time rather than strictly themed. Mixing different periods also opens the door to creating a home that reflects your unique tastes and experiences. It's an opportunity to play with different styles, find what speaks to you, and make your home a true reflection of your personality. Vintage artwork is another great way to personalize your space. Bunny Williams often uses vintage art to inject character and visual interest into a room. Whether it's a classic oil painting, an antique lithograph, or a hand-painted portrait, vintage art can add a timeless touch to any space. Art doesn't just fill the walls, it adds life and emotion to a room. Bunny loves mixing artwork from different periods, blending classical works with more modern pieces. This creates a visual conversation that feels both eclectic and refined. When curating vintage art, think about the mood you want to create. Bright, bold pieces can energize a room, while softer, more subdued artwork creates a calm, introspective atmosphere. Bunny's key piece of advice is to choose art that speaks to you and makes you feel something. Mirrors are an essential part of Bunny Williams' design approach, especially when it comes to vintage pieces. She often uses vintage mirrors not only as functional objects but also as beautiful decor. Antique mirrors, with their aged frames and unique patinas, bring depth and reflect light in ways that modern mirrors simply can't replicate. Vintage mirrors can help make a space feel larger and more open. Bunny suggests using them strategically to create visual interest, such as placing them opposite windows to reflect natural light or above fireplaces to add a touch of elegance. The right vintage mirror can become a focal point of the room, drawing attention to the beauty of its frame while complementing the rest of the vintage decor. Bunny encourages mixing mirror styles to add even more character, from ornate gilded mirrors to simple, understated ones. Vintage accessories are the finishing touches that make a room feel truly personalized. Bunny Williams often uses vintage accessories like vases, clocks, and trays to bring personality to her spaces. These small items are often overlooked, but they play a big role in making a room feel layered and thoughtfully designed. Vintage accessories can reflect your unique style and tell a story. Bunny encourages choosing accessories that have meaning to you, whether they're from your travels, a family heirloom, or a favorite vintage shop. When displayed thoughtfully, these pieces make a room feel welcoming and full of life. Remember, it's the details that make a room truly shine. Whether it's a vintage clock that strikes the hour or a pair of antique bookends, these accessories bring your space to life and elevate the decor to a new level of personality. Curating a vintage-inspired home isn't just about collecting things, it's about doing so with intention. Bunny Williams emphasizes that every item in your home should serve a purpose, whether it's functional, sentimental, or purely aesthetic. When you curate your collection of vintage pieces, Bunny suggests asking yourself, does this piece enhance the space? If the answer is yes, it should have a place in your home. This thoughtful approach prevents a home from feeling cluttered and ensures every item brings value to the room. Curating with intent also means considering the flow of your home and how each piece interacts with the others. It's about creating a cohesive environment where each vintage item feels deliberate and contributes to the overall atmosphere. In vintage decor, quality always trumps quantity. Bunny Williams advises against overloading your space with too many vintage items, as it can overwhelm the room and lose the charm of each piece. Instead, focus on finding a few key, high-quality pieces that will stand the test of time. Quality vintage pieces often have superior craftsmanship and materials, which makes them more enduring. Whether it's a solid wood table, a hand-knotted rug, or a beautifully constructed antique cabinet, these items hold their value and aesthetic appeal over time. Choosing fewer, but more exquisite pieces, creates a home that feels refined and timeless. Bunny encourages her clients to invest in quality, which will always pay off in the long run, both in terms of style and durability. When decorating with vintage items, it's important to consider the function of each piece. Bunny Williams believes that vintage furniture should not only look good but should also be practical and functional for everyday use. For example, an antique sideboard can serve as both a beautiful display piece and a practical storage solution. Vintage furniture often comes with unexpected benefits. Bunny loves the idea of using vintage furniture pieces that are both beautiful and functional. This way, each item adds value to the room beyond just its looks, making your home both stylish and livable. Functionality should never be sacrificed for aesthetics. Bunny suggests looking for pieces that balance beauty with practicality. A vintage sofa should be as comfortable as it is gorgeous, and an antique table should be able to withstand daily use. Bunny Williams advocates for the power of visual contrast when designing with vintage decor. Contrasting textures, colors, and styles can make a room come alive. For example, pairing sleek, modern furniture with a vintage rug can create an exciting contrast that adds intrigue to the space. Contrast also works with materials. A vintage leather chair might be paired with soft, modern fabrics like linen or velvet to create a dynamic balance of textures. This visual variety keeps the room from feeling static and adds richness to your design. Bunny reminds us that contrast doesn't always have to be extreme, it can be subtle. By thoughtfully combining vintage and contemporary elements, you can achieve a space that feels both harmonious and lively. Thank you so much for watching today's video on Bunny Williams vintage decor tips. I hope you're feeling inspired to incorporate some of these ideas into your own home. Remember, the key to creating a beautiful and personalized space is embracing imperfections, layering vintage elements thoughtfully, and curating a collection that feels meaningful to you. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We'd love to hear which vintage tip resonated with you the most, or if you have any questions. Your feedback helps us create content that you'll love. Thanks again for being here with us today. We can't wait to see you in our next vintage-inspired video on Decodiva. Until then, happy decorating!